Yes, it is Friday night once again on the bus. It is the last domestic game of the season. But of course, as always, with it being Friday night, being just a little bit after 9 o'clock, but a tad late. But of course, as you always know what that means. It must be time for that Friday feeling. And given it's Scottish Cup final eve, I'd imagine the Friday feeling is quite strong tonight, Liam. I think a lot of people will be buzzing for this one because, yeah, as the curtain will come down on the 24-25 season, Celtic in the Scottish Cup final against Aberdeen. There's just a wee extra buzz when you're involved in the Cup final. You can't beat it.
It's got a big game vibe about it. That's what I always like. You want big games, and this is a big game. Got a wee bit of contempt for Aberdeen right now as well. I don't like the way they behaved in the last game. Like, the fans are a disgrace and get into all that. But I want to see Celtic win, but no one's clear cut thinking it's going to happen. So let's get into some of that today as well, because some Celtic news to talk about, but also the more I think we could have a couple of problems.
Okay, interesting, but we'll get into all that in due course. But yeah, welcome aboard, folks. And before we go any further and get into that Friday feeling, our Cup final edition, do all that good stuff, help out the channel massively. Of course, you know what you can do by now. You've heard me saying it all season, but I'm going to do it again anyway. Hit the like button, help us out in the old algorithms. CSC, as I always like to say, helps the bus get recommended to more people out there in the Celtic YouTube world. If they like Celtic podcasts, they like a couple of guys talking nonsense about Celtic, then we might pop up. We might pop up in the recommended videos if they haven't discovered us yet, because YouTube loves to push interactive channels. So yeah, hit the like button. That helps us massively. Get involved in our comment section tonight. Let's have a look and see who's in. Liam, who's joining us on this Friday feeling? We have got Ali. We've got Smell the Glove, Teresa Lyle, Tommy 55, Graham Tyrrell's here. He's got the klaxon ready. We didn't use the klaxon last week. Didn't use it. My God. Oh, amazing. 420 somewhere's in. Joe Henry, Jim C. Also 420 somewhere's gifted a membership as well. Nice one, my man. Who else have we got in? As I scroll up, Patrick McLaughlin's in. Alex Forsyth is in. And I think I saw way back at the start, our very own Johnny Logue is looking around as well somewhere. I don't know where in the world he is right
Egypt.
now, but yeah.
Cairo, Egypt.
Oh, aye. Jet setting, as usual, all around the world. International man of mystery, Johnny Logue. And yeah, what else can you do? Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. Keep the bus in your life a little bit longer. Hit the bell notification, and you'll know when the bus is on the road. And still can go over to piesports.com. You can still use that code BUS1888 and you'll get 12.5% off of your order. All your tasty pastry treats. And whatever social media platform you wish to share the link of the Bhoycie Bus, and do so far and wide and get the name out there. This bus travels far. And who is our mystery player tonight? Who is the mystery player hiding behind the Bhoycie Bus logo, Liam? Well, he's got a quite short career, only 4 clubs, but as you can see, he's holding the Scottish Cup as well. Significant. He's played for Auxerre, Stade Rennes, then you had to spell it Celtic, and then Toulouse. So yeah, only 4 clubs for this guy, but yes, he has got the Scottish Cup in his hand there. Hopefully that'll be Callum McGregor tomorrow with the Scottish Cup in his hand as well. But yes, so that is our mystery player tonight. Quite an obvious one when you think about it. And of course it is themed because it is Scottish Cup final weekend. And yes, with all that said and done, Let's get into it, Liam. Let's get into it. See, this is the big curtains coming down now in the season. This is the Scottish Cup final, 24-25, Celtic and Aberdeen. a very familiar opponent in recent years. Celtic have had a few run-ins with Aberdeen in cup finals. At the moment, we're on a very good hot streak against them. We haven't actually lost a cup final in general since 2012. The last time Aberdeen won the Scottish Cup was 1990, so they're on a bit of a losing streak when it comes to cup finals. Hopefully that doesn't change. I know this year in the world of football, there's been a few, like Crystal Palace winning their first trophy, Newcastle first trophy in 70-something years. There's a bit of a thing going on right now in football with teams that don't usually win trophies winning stuff. So hopefully that doesn't change tomorrow and Celtic can keep that going. So the last time we lost a Scottish Cup final, if we want to be specific, is 2002. So again, we're on a good run. And I think I heard it quoted earlier on another pod that apparently Celtic have won the last 15 cup finals that they played in. Brendan Rodgers, still perfect at Hampden. He'll want to keep that going tomorrow. So right now, all the omens, everything's pointing towards Celtic should go out there. But as you said at the top of the show, you've got a couple of concerns, Liam. So what is concerning you about tomorrow?
Complacency. We're due to lose one of these. So I'm obviously, I want to see his team win and all that and cheering them on every kick of the ball. But when you look at this objective, you got to lose one somewhere. I never thought we'd lose to this Rangers side, and yet they beat us twice. And each time I think, but it's a big game. They'll pick themselves up. They'll be able to respond. This is Rangers we're playing, and, you can be forgiven for taking the foot off the pedal against some of the smaller teams and that. But Rangers games, no, that's made me, that changed my opinion of them this year, and it changed my opinion with Rodgers as well. It bothered me he couldn't get them up for it. The game last week, until James Forrest scored that goal, I thought we were dire. I thought the football that we were trying to play was like players were playing not to get picked, for the final. I thought Alistair Johnson was shocking other than that pass. But is that a guy it's injured right now that's getting pushed back too soon? We in danger because he's been left out the Canadian national team. For this tournament we have coming up, and and it might be to give him a rest and all that, and that hip injury. So why are we pulling him back so far? Because of all the people with positions to fill, that one I think there's very little golf. In fact, I think Ralston's been playing a lot better than him. So these are just some of the things and what we're seeing with players that are going to come into the team that might not feel that they've earned their way in, that they've not done it through, given a showcase and a chance to show like the team against Aberdeen. It'll be very interesting to see how much of that team that scalped them will be starting tomorrow. You can doubt it. It'll be like the ones that start all the time, and that worries me because then it's that sort of complacency. When you get that casualness, you get casualties. And we're due to lose one of these, and so I think, these are the things that we need to be aware of tomorrow, that when we're playing a very hungry Aberdeen, that's due. I mean, I can't remember the last time we lost a cup final.
Well, it's 2012. It was Kilmarnock, the Kelly one in 2012.
Yeah, I remember, Aberdeen. Kilmarnock. Kilmarnock took a scalp off of us as well, where I think we just assumed, we always beat Derek McInnes's teams. Yeah. Came back to hurt us as well. Yeah. So I think tomorrow's. You keep saying how hard it is to win a treble, and you have to say it's not just a cup final tomorrow; it's a treble. Yeah. And we keep being told that these are extremely, extremely hard to win. And I think Rodgers and the team tomorrow's got to be at its best, but he needs to pick a team on merit right now. If it's not his favourite players that are going to win this game, that's what worries me. His favourite players usually let us down.
Interesting. I mean, there is a right to be a bit complacent, I think, because the it's a cup final. Anything can happen. We literally saw last week in England, Crystal Palace beating Manchester City. Man City with all the money, all the fortunes and all that, they're always, even though they've not had the best of seasons, they're still up there in the Champions League spots. Crystal Palace never won anything in their history. And they did the business. They pretty much played on the counter. They just dug in, and that's all it takes. And I think, with the way that we've bodied Aberdeen at times this season with some of the results we've had, we're a team like Aberdeen who've got nothing left to play for other than this. This is their last shot at glory. A season that started so well for them and promised so much, completely fizzled out and turned into a typical Aberdeen season. So they've got one last throw of the dice. They're going to be dangerous. They're going to have their moments. Ultimately, we'll get onto predictions at the end. I do think Celtic will win, but I don't think it will be like what we've seen this season, beating them 6-0 and 5-1 and stuff like that. I think Aberdeen will make us work for it, but I think Brendan Rodgers will show them respect. I don't think Brendan will allow the players to have that sort of attitude, which is worrying because there has been moments this season where we've faltered against teams like Rangers, and Brendan said things like, we're so far ahead. Maybe it's been getting in the players' minds that we're the complacency there. So I'd like to think that he will not allow them to go in with an attitude tomorrow of, we'll just turn up, we'll beat Aberdeen, no problem. So Aberdeen they'll have their moments. They've got nothing else to lose. They can't play for a draw. It's not like coming to Celtic Park, a valuable point in the league. Scottish Cup's on the line. First trophy for Aberdeen since 2014. First Scottish Cup since 1990 they're chasing. So they will have their moments tomorrow. So I do share your viewpoint there, where we have seen little moments of complacency this season. Brendan Rodgers even addressed it. Tomorrow we cannot allow that to happen.
Well, the other thing as well that you factor into it, the closer the game, the more we get closer to have another one of the Bobby Madden Cup finals where, it was a bit of WWE going on at the middle of the park, and it seems like, nothing was getting carded. And I remember Rodgers, basically carrying Calvin Bassett on, Australian boy, Tom Rodgers, carrying Bassett on his back. And then when he shook him off to get him, he got the free kick given against him. And that was when, we found out Bobby Madden was off after this game, and it was, it was a signing out. But, you worry about that sort of thing as well, too. Like the Aberdeen, I think they'll see if they have the same tactics, they stall with like just coming out trying to kick us off the park.
But the first game we played them this season, the 2-each draw at Celtic Park, I thought that about them when they're really dirty. That boy Nielsen in the middle in particular, no much skill or finesse about him, just a lot of kicking and a lot of physicality essentially. So they have, you could say, had some kind of success against us this season by adapting that approach. Again, tomorrow they might just look at that, just like rough Celtic up, just get in their face. That's something that we need to be wary of tomorrow, no doubt about it.
I mean, it's not that big Eastern European at the back as well,
Oh yeah, the wall puncher. Yeah.
Seems to enjoy taking a chunk out of people, But Greg Taylor better not be bringing out the baby next to him. He'll bite the head off it.
Oh, good point. Actually, yeah. Actually, a good point as well. Just came up in the chat from Graham Tyrrell, and he is right on this one. When was the last time we studied a team in a final? They're usually tense affairs. I could be wrong, but off the top of my head, I think beating Aberdeen 3-0 in the League Cup final in Brendan's first season. Because after that, we had Aberdeen in the final, Scottish Cup that year, 2-1, last minute goal. The next season, we played Motherwell in both finals, beat them 2-0 in both ones, so they weren't exactly a doing. Hearts for the treble was a late goal from Edward to win it. Who did they beat for the League Cup in the treble season? Was that? No, it wasn't Rangers. It was Aberdeen again. That was 1-0. That was the Ryan Christie game. The quadruple treble. There was the Christopher Julian. The goal again, that game was a siege against us. And then the Scottish Cup final that was played the next season was a 3-each draw that we won on penalties. So yeah, we do it. And then remember the game against Hibs under Ange where Hibs took the lead, but we equalised right away. 2-1 that ended. So yeah, it tends to be, they are very close affairs. I say the last time we did beat a team by a comfortable margin was 3-0 against Aberdeen in 2016 League Cup final. So it is. See, for these teams, it's the one and only shot at glory this season because they're never going to win the league. Aberdeen fans for a while did, I think, genuinely believed at the start of the season with the way things were going that they were going to be in and about it this season. But now they're in the final, they're there on merit, and yeah, there's always a danger about them. They've got nothing to lose. If it's still close, late in the game, maybe they're only leading by a goal. Aberdeen are just going to start throwing men forward. They could, a long ball causes a bit of carnage. They score an equaliser. It goes to extra time. These are the type of scenarios that can happen. So Celtic are going to have to be on it from minute one tomorrow. Just guard against all complacency, because anything can happen in a cup final. But a couple of positions, Liam, that are obviously hot topics right now. And the first one, obviously, is a forced one because Rio Hatate is obviously injured. He's out now. No, who knows how long he'll be out for? Could be out for the whole pre-season. Who knows when we'll see him again? But obviously, that spot in the middle of the park. Now, a couple of weeks ago, when Hatate got injured, my first thought was, it's Paulo Bernardo all day, every day. But of course, the 2 games that Paulo Bernardo's played since then, it's kind of like, he was all right. He wasn't great. Luke McCowan did play in that 5-1 game at Aberdeen as well, scored a goal that day. I think it's. I wouldn't be surprised if McCowan did start. I think it's a toss up, that one right now. I think, and the thing is, the thing about Luke McCowan, we cannot debate. He's done well this season. A lot of fans maybe had low expectations. Maybe that's why. Maybe they were just like, I'm not expecting much for this boy. But he's done well apart from the Rangers game. And all I think that happened that day was he just got overawed by the situation. Cal McGregor was out injured. A lot was put on his shoulders. Celtic fan. I think it just overawed him, because he did have one fleeting good moment in that game when he played the ball for Hatate. The through ball was brilliant. But everything else he did in the games felt dead erratic. Like he wasn't thinking clearly. He was rushing his play. But I think when you look at all the other performances McCown's had, he's very, very rarely put a foot wrong. So I wouldn't be bothered if McCowan did get the nod. I just think Bernardo should start, because Bernardo, we spent all last summer chasing him, and you're telling me has Brendan Rodgers somehow made his mind up? Don't get me wrong, Brendan Rodgers has got a track record of, making his mind up on players and just kind of pushing them to the side. We've seen it in the past. But I say that midfield position, for me, it is a coin toss right now. I don't think either is a bad option on current form. I think they've had some low points and some high points. I think it's a mixed bag with the two of them, but I think either way, I wouldn't be worried whoever gets that start, Liam.
No, McCowan's showed that he can score in this league as well. I mean, he's scored 7 goals for us. I didn't expect him to get that from McCowan, especially for the limited amount of time that he's played. You're right, the Rangers game, that made me rethink what I thought. I thought we were on a really good player, and ever since that, I've seen him as a wee guy. You know what I mean? He seemed to be pushed off the ball, and I look up now, and I see a wee guy. And I was like, okay, so he's going to be one of them. So that might not be the best in the midfield against that guy Nelson and stuff like that. Whereas Paulo Bernardo's got a bounce ability, and he just sort of bounces and glides off defenders, and he doesn't seem to take a bad tackle, and and he doesn't shirk away for them either. Here's McCowan, but I don't know. I think I like what I get with Bernardo, just maybe is making up for that bit of creativity that's going to be missing with Rio Hatate gone. I think he's a good creative player, and I think as well too, we need somebody with a bit of creativity on that side to get that ball to Maeda if he's going to be stuck out in the wing. Because if that's the case, then we're wasting them.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'd go with Bernardo.
Yeah, that's for sure. See, there is a lot of physicality in that Aberdeen side, and that could be the answer. Because again, Bernardo, I have felt he's shown that physical side that we do lack sometimes in the middle. So yeah, I say right now on current form, I don't think there's much between the two of them, and I think we would get away with either of them playing. Right. But personally speaking, I would prefer it to be Bernardo, just because I believe in him as a good player. I say we looked at how we chased him all the summer, dragged our heels on that one, eventually got it over the line. I just wouldn't like to think that Brendan Rodgers, after all that, has decided. Again, I'm just looking at the weird way that he's been phased back in since coming back from injury. To me, a lot of it's not made sense. Where I'm like, there's been prime opportunity to get this guy some game time and get some minutes in the legs, get him back up to full fitness, because it ain't going to do much good after a long-term injury like that to then just sit on the bench. And there was some weird moments where he wasn't even getting on the park when we could have done with a change in midfield, or games we were winning comfortably. And it's like, well, now you can throw him on. No, he was still putting Luke McCowan on first. So he begins to put, as a fan, you're conditioned to always think, oh, something's not right about this. Something seems a bit of foul here. So you begin thinking, has something happened behind the scenes? Is there a bit of falling out there? But obviously, he began getting more game time recently, and also he's been forced with the Hatate injury. But yeah, that's one of the shots up for debate. But I do think it will be Bernardo. But if it was McCown, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be too upset about it. But I think Bernardo is a sensible choice. Let's talk about one of the midfields before we talk about the team. But also, there's a story this week as well about Arnie Engels, a player that definitely divides opinion, to say the least. We know that Mark Kearney, who's a regular on the bus, he just doesn't like Engels at all. I believe the term he likes to use a lot on Twitter is rid rotten. He likes to say all the time. I wouldn't quite say Engels has been rid rotten. I wouldn't go that far, to be honest. Has he been a bit underwhelming? Perhaps you could argue that. I mean, the price tag is always going to be hanging over him. I've said a few times now, I think he shows some brilliant flashes, some brilliant moments where you go, well, that was really good, but it's only coming in small doses. We didn't pay that money for flashes. But I still think that if he's here next season, then hopefully we see the best of Arnie Engels. He starts to really come on now that he gets the fabled full pre-season under him that we always talk about. It always seems to do the rounds. I feel like in the position he plays, you're looking for those types of players to be the guys that can take control of a game and really dictate play. But so far with Engels, I think the biggest issue has been we don't know if he's what is his strongest sort of role in midfield, because football isn't just black and white anymore, Liam. Here's defenders, here's midfielders, here's forwards. There's all different roles now and all this sports science and all that. Is Engels a defensive midfielder? Is he a box-to-box midfielder? Is he a holding midfielder? Is he an attacking midfielder? I don't think we've established that yet. It's up to Brendan Rodgers to figure that out. But obviously this week there has been a story about him being linked to Atalanta, a team that we crossed paths with this season in the Champions League. If theoretically, Liam, a bid came in and it was profit, not massive profit, but Celtic made, say, I don't know, got 14 million for him, right, just for talking's sake. What would you do in the Celtic board position there? Would you stick with him for the time being and try and develop him with the idea of, well, if we develop him even more, we'll get even more money in a few years' time? Or if they just break even, would you be like, just cut our losses, it's not going to work with Engels? How do you feel?
Well, he's not showing up like a Kieran Tierney or a Jeremy Frimpong, as like a high-end, high aspirational development player. He doesn't. He looks like every other development player that we've had come in at that sort of level. The only problem is none of them have had that price tag. Mm-hmm. As far as keeping other players at the team like Bernardo and McCown and all that, he's been very fortunate, because I think I agree with Mark when it's that the money is what's kept him, gives him another chance. He's got that Willy Wonka golden ticket because of the price tag, that when he has a stinker, he's not reminded of it every 2 games. He's back out there again. Naroki has one a year ago and takes him a year to get back in the side. So, and that wasn't a stinker, that was just one. He's not come in and he's not looked at me like when Jeremy Frimpong came into the team and you looked at him, you could say, wow, that's a guy that's just got tons of potential. You were worried when he was missing for the team or not going to be playing. That's how much a bigger impact he had that fast on the team. I don't think Engels has had anywhere near that sort of impact. He's not. Yeah, everybody's looking at, everybody's like going, we're all dissecting touches and movement and things like that. But yeah, it's like I want to see players, I'm not trying to develop what the perfect football player should be. I want to see guys that can change games. I want to see guys that get emotional and see them want, we've had games where you need somebody to turn it around and say, all right, come on, we're getting our arse kicked here. Let's either get braver or wiser, faster, slower, whatever it is. And I know he's just a young boy, but I don't know. There's young boys playing with Barcelona right now that are 17.
Yeah.
The world by storm. In fact, wait till you see the age limit in this next World Cup. Guaranteed is another 2 or 3 16, 17-year-olds emerging the next year. That's just unbelievable and amazing. So, yeah, I looked at, okay, so you'll get that same amount of money and more back from him, so it's not a gamble. And if you're going to do that, let's see, this boy Sean McArdle, but just one look, he looked really promising. I mean, that's where Rodgers needs his arse kicked for, get a better look at these guys. This is a 17-year-old that's got loads of potential. You think the boy at Barcelona, Lamal, we got a game with a Brendan Rodgers team.
That's like Yamal's probably going to be up for the player of the year, like the Ballon d'Or. They're talking about the Ballon d'Or for him, and he's only 17. And that...
do you think Steve Clark would have give him a look in? No. Let's see what Kenny McLean gets tired of.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean that's another one.
So I don't know. I like if we're going to develop players, and he is a developmental player, I'd like to see more of the guys that we have, like that McArdle. Let's give him a serious run of games and give him all the support and the good teams and all that around him, and see how he develops at that age. It's only a year or two between them. So if he's up and coming and he's looking good, I'd send him away to Atlanta and take the money right away.
I feel does, man. I've seen a sort of polarizing people on Twitter a lot saying, just cut our losses. They just don't think it will work overall. But if this is a serious bid, and right now it's all just media speculation, there might be nothing in it. Nothing will come of it. But it would be interesting because I don't think Celtic would make a huge profit. I think they can make their money back and maybe a bit over profit. But I don't see. I've seen people already talking about, they could get 20+ million for Engels. No, I don't see that at all.
We got 11 for Lyle Abada, which I thought was well over the expectations. And one thing this board know how to do is they know how to stretch a buck, and they're very good at that transfer. And they might be able to sell him the same way he was sold to us. And if he does go on and do well, great. But it's going to take 2 or 3 years of development. And I don't know. I'd rather we put that into one of our own boys.
Yeah, this saves them all from leaving. If it shows there is a pathway there that they can get into the team, then we could stop this regular occurrence of all these players, just letting their contract run down and going away to play in reserve sides in England, which seems to be the thing. But a question came up here about another position from David Scullion. Would you guys start Yang, truthfully? The winger position is obviously up for the way now. I know, Liam, what your answer is going to be, because I'm going to make a prediction right now. I'm going to foreshadow something, right, for next season on the bus. I think Adam Ida is the natural successor to Greg Taylor with the klaxon, because I get the impression, Liam, you don't like Adam Ida. I get that. I get that vibe. So every time I ask you about the forwards, you're always like, drop Adam Ida, Maeda through the middle. So that would then leave the winger position open. Obviously, James Forrest is he's chapping on that door. He's chapping on Brendan Rodgers' door. He's done a lot in recent weeks to show that he's in there. But I think Yang, I thought his performance up at Audrey was looking good. Now, personally speaking, I think he will go Maeda. I think out wide, Kuhn will play, and I think Ida will play. That's just what I think he'll do. But if he does decide Maeda through the middle, sorry, Adam, but you're dropped. Because again, on forum, you could argue that Ida, he's maybe, again, it's just that getting him taking hold of a game up front. You've pointed this out, and this is a fair observation. Yes, he's scored a lot of goals when you actually look at the numbers, but how many of those goals this season have been crucial, like winning goals? Because a lot of them are when we're 3-0 up, 4-0 up, 5-0 and whatnot. They come in a cluster where we've scored a few. There's been a few. I mean, don't get me wrong. When we beat Hibs in the Scottish Cup quarter final, we were 1-0 up. It was still a tight game, and he scored the second goal, which put it beyond doubt and stuff like that. But there's a lot of his goals are coming like when we're already 3-up and whatnot. But still, all the goals count. You can't argue against that. But yeah, if he does decide that Ida is on the bench and he's got that winger position opened up, I think it would be James Forrest would get it. I think it would be. But Yang, I mean, he's had his moments again this season. A lot of people were like, nah, he's done. He ain't going to make it. We remember when Russell was on with us one night on a Friday night, I kept bringing up the Yang gang. And Jesus Christ, you would have thought Yang would have pissed in his cereal or something like that. He was fuming. It was as bad as you with Greg Taylor. He was like, Yang, no, he was not having Yang at all. He was just not having that guy. But yeah, where do you stand on that one with the winger position? If it is opened up tomorrow, if he does decide either you're on the bench, Maeda through the middle, Yang, Forrest. I would say Forrest would get the nod there.
I don't know. That's the thing for Rodgers, isn't it? Is it the team you like the best or the team that's the best right now? Because if you take each player in isolation, okay, Maeda or Ida, who's the best centre forward? Who's going to get you goals? Who's going to supply you movement? Mm-hmm. Who's your best bet? It's Maeda. Guys are Maeda every day of the week, right? Every day. Okay, so that should be that right there. We keep saying, but Dysan's a winger. No, we sold our striker. We sold our number one striker and being told that, no, Dyson will be our striker now. Okay, he's identified with the Japanese team as a striker. In fact, I really hope that we're not messing him about, that, sorry, some boys want to be strikers. They just feel comfortable. That's their thing. They want to develop that game. Throwing them out in the wing, it just seems like you're rewarding them. And again, sometimes there's games where you get completely isolated out there. Dyson looks like he wants to be in and about it. So let's start with your best striker. And then if you look at the two wingers over the last 3-4 games, James Forrest definitely starts over Kuhn. Kuhn's still walking about like somebody's, I don't know what happened, but like he just doesn't look happy. He just looks like a miserable wee guy. And you know what? It's shown in your performance and all that as well. So I think Forrest deserves a start tomorrow. And, I think the fans would agree with me on that one. And then Yang, aye, why not? Have them keep switching wings and all that, because Forrest had Shinnie on a plate.
Yeah, he did.
We had to take Shinnie off. He was finding the shin guards and everything on the way off the park, and Forrest had skinned him that many times. And then Yang, aye, something about Yang right now, and I think you want to be able to you reward that. And then you get guys like Kuhn and you set them off and just let them know that, yeah, your form's dirt. You don't automatically walk back into the team. And I'm telling you, nothing against Ida. There's times I like him and that. I think he's had an underwhelming season, but he scored 20 goals. And, but none of them were like when you really needed a goal and that. No, I think the one that will be suffering for the most complacency is Rodgers. And it's like, yeah, I thought this year was a gift for us. Rangers were in total disarray. We had teams in Scotland that took a lot of points off of each other as well, and we just vaulted out of nowhere, and we did that. But you should be able to do that with the amount of money that we're paying and the amount of investment that we put in this summer. But they haven't convinced me with the football overall. I don't think we've developed or got better as a team. So tomorrow for me, it's an exciting game because you get to look at all this stuff now as well. It's like, as I said, it feels like a big game. I'm going to see what sort of Celtic team we're going to have going into these European qualifiers based on tomorrow's game, because it'll be the nucleus it probably. So is it the team that can show up and like, okay, so maybe it has been a bit hard to get motivate them for this because they've already won and all that, or is there a complacency set in and we need to do a bigger rebuild of what we have? And if that's the case, that's Rodgers for taking his foot off the pedal, for not demanding that we replace guys like Kyogo, not demanding that we had sufficient players to come in and get through the injury crisis that we had. If we didn't have a left back that we thought was adequate enough, go and get another one and cut our losses with Trusty or Liam Scales or whatever he thought, right? And same with the backup for CCV. And yeah, I don't know. Tomorrow's interesting game. We'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's going to tell us an awful lot about what Celtic's going to look like going forward.
I think it will. Yeah, there's again with the Celtic board, there's definitely some stuff that needs addressed in the summer. But these European qualifier, this will roll around very, very soon. We don't want to be on the outside looking in at the new format Champions League. We enjoyed it this season. Love to be in it again. So yeah, we cannot. We have to be ready for when that rolls around. A couple of comments that have came in. John Walker has said, no point playing either if you don't use him as a target man, because we don't do a lot of crossing into the box looking for headers. They come every so often, but it's not something that we do. You'd think big guy, that seems to be, because we up at Dundee United the other week, he did score a header. There was it Ralston or was Johnston got to the byline? Johnston, one that he was playing that day. And again, good cross header, and it's like, well, that's what we want to see more of. I've said it a couple of times now. See if Adamida would just stay in that area between the penalty spot and the 6-yard line, like that sort of region. But I see a lot of times he drops deep, he's running out wide into the channels. And it's like, you're meant to be the number 9, you're meant to be a centre forward. But again, that could be the manager that's telling him to do that. But again, it's like, look at his profile. He's a guy that if you just keep him in the middle, he scored a few goals recently, but again, he's just lurking in that area around the middle of the box. And it's like, that's where he should be. We zip so many balls across the face of the goal, and the amount of times it just goes by and nobody's there for the tap in. It's like, that's where the centre forward should be. And then you see Adam Eders standing outside the area because he's dropped deep to pick up the ball and stuff like that. So, yeah, we need to try and play to his strengths if he is playing it. And if there's a target man, then yeah, we need to start looking at some more high balls into the box and whatnot. He's a big, strong guy. Look for him to hold it up. Now, regarding Aberdeen and the complacency, one thing that I will say about this, and I understand where you're coming from on the complacency stuff, but Aberdeen took points off us at the start of the season in a 2-2 draw. Every game since then, it feels like Brendan Rodgers has had his ego bruised by that result and thought, I won't make that mistake again, because obviously we've tanked them in every game since then. Now, as I said at the top of the show, as a cup final, things can happen. But again, when you're looking at it from that point of view, again, we've went it out, and I do feel that when there is some jeopardy, like as in the cup runs that we've had, and even over the league, we've had a few complacent ones where we've been so far ahead and it's set in. But I think even something is on the line, something tangible you can get your hands on at the end of the game. I think Celtic, I think they turn up for these ones. I say the cup run so far, we beat Kilmarnock in the first game, the first round this tournament, where it was a bit of a touch and go game, but we got through it 2-1 in the end. But then after that, we tanked Raith Rovers 5-0. We beat Hibs, I say 2-0. A Hibs team that came to Celtic Park, remember 8,000 fans, 7,000 fans. They fancied it that day. And Hibs just didn't get going because we didn't allow them to get going at all. We just absolutely had them pinned in, and we beat them 2-0. It was a pretty comfortable 2-0. Could have been what we wanted. Then St Johnstone in the semi, after they beat us in the league just like 2 weeks before, again, similar to what happened to Aberdeen, won't let that happen again. And we went to town on them. Now, don't get me wrong, we should have beat them 5-0 in the bloody league game. We should have just turned up at McDermott and stuffed them that day. But we saved it for the cup game. So I think with the results against Aberdeen this season, after them taking points off us and clearly fancying themselves a wee bit after it, I think we've made a point. And I said the biggest one was obviously the 6-0 game in the League Cup, just a few weeks after that 2-2. So I feel like, again, that's something that is with Celtic. They're like, no, we'll make sure that doesn't happen. Because I remember, I don't know if you saw this clip a while ago, Kasper Schmeichel was doing a podcast on what it was like an English football one. He was talking about his time at Celtic, how he's been settling in, and it was not long after we drew that game with Aberdeen. And he says, so far, the only game we've dropped points is to Aberdeen, and he mentioned how they didn't like that in the dressing room. We didn't like that at all. Like, we strive for perfection and stuff like that. So then, of course, they played them in the Cup a couple of weeks later, beat them 6-0. So I just feel like every time we've played Aberdeen since then, it's like, we're going to prove a point. And even the second string team proved a point against them a couple of weeks ago. But I say there's still a job to be done. But that's what's making me think that Celtic will make sure that the job's done tomorrow, Liam.
So it's funny, if Aberdeen get a hot goalie, so Mitov right now, he's a goalkeeper for Bulgaria. And a lot of Aberdeen's lack of success this year, we know when he had that dip, was when he was injured. Remember they had that boy that played with us in goal, Ross Stewart or something, I think, when we beat them 6-0. So I thought he's always looked quite good against us, and he didn't look good with the 5 goals there before, but this is a cup final, and you never know, like one good hot goaltender as well. We've seen that before as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. It's such an anomaly, this game tomorrow as well, because, I think it's because of the B team. It's because of that B team result that I think that's given everybody this confidence. And I don't know, that B team all felt like they came out with something to prove.
Yeah.
Aberdeen didn't have anything to prove.
The interesting thing about that game was that Aberdeen team that played that night is probably quite close to what their cup final team's going to be.
Yeah.
And that team that played at Pittodrie 2 weeks ago is a million miles away from what the starting 11 for Celtic will be tomorrow. It's weird how that worked out.
I felt so, or anybody that's on the chat right now. So the guy that ran into Hatate, how was that? Like, did that make much news after it? I mean, I never heard it on Radio Clyde or anything like that. I mean, there you had a guy after the whistle was blowing, going right through and taking a player out that's going to be out for, I don't know, a substantial amount of time, and only got a yellow card for it. I mean, if that happened across the street, they'd be going absolutely maniacs, you know?
Oh, yeah.
They'd be going crazy. And I'm surprised that this guy's probably going to get to play against us in a cup final after taking out one of our best players. Where's the retroactive VAR on that stuff? Because if that was after the whistle, that's more than a yellow card. That's a red card. And if you look at the fact that you're taking a marquee player away from a marquee game, you know, like for the, you know, just the entertainment, sports entertainment aspect of it, that's not the sort of way you want to be advertising, you know, to recruit players to come and play in your league when that sort of thuggery is rewarded. That now they've got an advantage because we're losing one of our premier players.
Yeah, there was no, if I remember correctly, there was no like retrospective ban, because there has been incidents of that where VAR decisions have, I mean, in the stadium, they've got VAR, and the fact that they looked at that and didn't say to the referee, actually, you've made a mistake there, come and look at the screen, you might want to upgrade that to a red. But I say we have had incidents in the last 2-3 years where after the game, the SFA have stepped in and have overruled whatever VAR decided or VAR didn't do, which to me is a bit of a damning indictment, where it's like the SFA have pretty much stepped in and said, our referee on the park didn't get it right, our VAR officials in the truck with these camera angles still didn't get it right, so we're going to step in. But no, they didn't. They didn't give him any a retrospective red card. So yeah, he got away with it. He got away with it in the end. So I now we're minus Rio Hitati for that one, who's without a doubt was coming on to a game, because there's a lot of questions over Rio at times where, again, the body language experts come out to play at that time. Liam, he doesn't look happy, he looks miserable and whatnot. Is he even buying into Brendan Rodgers? But I think in the last few months, I think Hitati's been really starting to look good again, like the levels that we saw under Ange Postecoglou. So it's as a blow in that sense. I said earlier on, we did talk about that position. I do think Bernardo or McCown will get through with either of them. I don't think either of them are a bad option. But yeah, Hitati has been playing well recently, so it's going to be a blow regardless. But no, there was definitely no retrospective red cards this year, because it would have been major news in the football headlines here, but no, there was nothing from
it. You think the club players and the press and all that would have made a big deal out of that, like they have so many other things, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I said at the time, one thing that I'm not encouraging going, and hassling the referee and crowding the referee, because obviously that's that can result in red cards and yellow cards getting dished out. But I did find it a bit weird how Tati was clearly done there, and very little from the rest of the Celtic players. Sort of hurrying round essentially. You see a lot of teams will do that. The camaraderie. They'll get in the referee's face or get in the player's face who did it. But it was just like. But obviously Brendan Rodgers was standing right next to it, and he was more annoyed about how close the fourth official was standing. Maybe he was just saying to the fourth official, wait, you're standing right there. Could you not see that tackle? Maybe that's what he was saying to him. Yeah. That seemed to bother Brendan a lot more. But yeah, that was something where I was like, I'd like to see a bit more of that from the Celtic team at times, when a player is down like that and has been clearly done. A bit of, getting that player's face, give him a bit of grief for doing that.
You're too nice. I think they're a very, very nice team. And yeah, I'd like to see us play with a bit more grit, or have the players out there that do have a bit of that,
Yeah. So again, that could be something on the shopping list for the summer, because another thing about the summer, though, we mentioned earlier on, talking about midfielders. What do you make of the Lennon Miller story that he might be off to the French league, to Strasbourg, who apparently have had a quite decent season, are back in European football? I think they're in the Europa League or the Conference League. But Lennon Miller, could he be the one that gets away, Liam? Is he going to be the new John McGinn scenario? Again, the stories in the newspaper are saying that it could be about 8 million that Strasbourg are going to pay for him. I mean,
8 million is a good price for a player like that that's doing really well with Motherwell. I mean, if you look at the success Scottish players have had in Italy, why shouldn't it be worth 7-8 million to a team like Motherwell? So I think it's good if he goes there. Strasbourg, I don't know enough a lot about. I think young Scottish players, sometimes I'd look at Italy and have your management team, looking there, your agents there. I don't know if do you think maybe we've seen somebody like Sean McCardo and that and said, you know what, maybe let's hold off and let's hold off on Lennon Miller. Maybe he's something in our boy that's just as good as well.
Well, he's got to get a game in. He's got to get game time. That's the thing. Does Brendan, where does, again, it's a catch-22 with being the Celtic manager and to a degree the Rangers manager as well. When you want to phase in these youngsters, if you drop points, the first thing that the fans are going to point at is, because obviously if you lose a game in Glasgow on either side of the divide, it's a disaster. If you drop points, suddenly they're going to point to, all these youngsters that we're playing, we can't afford to do that. That is the issue that we've got. It's no coincidence, Liam, that at the time when Rangers were nowhere to be seen in this division because they were down in down with the dregs for all their sins, Cal McGregor and Kieran Tierney broke through the Celtic team at the same time, getting prolonged game time under Ronnie Dyler, and they developed because they were able to play week in, week out because we knew nothing to worry about. Aberdeen and Motherwell chased us down. No problem. We'll see them off. But since Rangers have came back up, even though you look at the way the league tables have always panned out every season, we tend to win the league pretty comfortably. There's been very few seasons where Rangers have still managed to trouble us. Of course, next season with the takeover that's coming, we need to be wary of that. Monty has added, though, if that happens, talking about Lennon Miller, he'll be raging, mate. One that slipped away, another one. You're talking about Scottish players doing well. I am reading in the chat that Napoli have apparently won the Serie A tonight. Scott McTominay scored again. Yes. Billy Gilmore was playing as well. And again, the Scottish players. I watched a thing through the week about on like YouTube that I think like an Italian football channel uploaded about Lewis Ferguson, a whole feature on him. And again, these countries are not afraid to go for these talents, and it's like, what's stopping us? I've seen enough from Lennon Miller to think this boy can do something for us. He's got the X factor about him. He's got a talent. You can see it in him. But if a team like Strasbourg are coming along and paying that, then if the boy looks at what these other players are doing abroad, it's up to the player at the end of the day. If his ambition is he wants to play abroad and sees what these boys are doing, then that's going to influence him, Liam.
It might just be, like Scottish culture and all that, might just be getting them away from their pals and their families and all that, to go somewhere where the culture isn't, drinking and all that and fighting and, just go to somewhere where got all the distractions, your mates and people trying to get tickets and all that, and you just get to go somewhere and play your football. Probably, I'm always impressed with the young boys that go over there, like all the young Scottish boys that go over there seem to learn Italian really quickly, and and it's brilliant. Listen to Lewis Ferguson speaking Italian, and it's great. I was a big fan of Dennis Law when I was young. Always really impressive that he was one of the first guys to go and play in Italy. Way back then there was Scottish guys playing in Italy when Italy was a great. All the big teams were at Italy, especially the one we played against, So, I think I'd like to see us go for him. I think, I just need to have more confidence that our scouting can identify this sort of guy, and if he is a really great prospect, and also if we do have any of those prospects ourselves, what are we doing to even get them to that level? At the point, because I think we've been very rigid, in looking at age, and that's with both ends of the spectrum. We talk about players at 28, 29, 30 like they're done. Meanwhile, there's guys playing well into their 30s that, haven't lost any pace and all that, and are, still physically, really, really fit, but now have a football brain that is developed over, 12, 13 years of playing at the highest level. When you mix them, like when I look at next year, that's what I want to say. I'd love to see us bring in an established player.
Yeah.
Like bringing in like a Luka Modric or something for the last couple of years. He is,
he's leaving Real Madrid, I believe, but I think, going by rumours that have been going around, I think he's going over to join the Lionel Messi All-Stars in Miami. It's all the La Liga All-Stars, because Lionel Messi's pretty much rounding up all his pals for Barcelona and just that La Liga era, because he's already got Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba, who's the other one that they've got. There's a fourth one there with them, I'm pretty sure, that's playing in that Miami team.
Marcelo ended up there as well.
Did Marcelo go to the MLS as well? Modric is linked with them. I think Pedro, that plays for Lazio, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up playing out there. Messi's just getting all his mates to come and play. All these guys that used to be big in La Liga 10 years ago. So Modric wouldn't surprise me if he rocked up at Miami.
Do you know who's the top of the league in the MLS, Phil?
Oh, right. Well, the thing is, they've got an Eastern Conference and a Western Conference, don't they? So who's top? I don't know. Obviously, it's got to involve a player connected to Scotland, isn't it? It's got to involve, if you're bringing this up. Is it? Don't tell me Lewis Morgan's team. Is it Lewis Morgan still doing bits out there?
I think it's the Whitecaps.
Oh, the Vancouver Whitecaps, of course. Of course, I never thought of that. Aye, Whitecaps. Any SPFL player connections going on at the Whitecaps just now?
Ryan Gold.
Ryan Gold, yeah, nice.
He's been injured for a wee while, but they've built that team around him. He's turned into a really good player. I mean, I don't watch him. I used to, and then it's hard. It's hard. And every time I've seen him in the highlights, he looks really good, and I love him here. And coaches, the organisation, everyone, they've built a team around him. Anytime you run into guys in the team like coaches and all that, everybody says, yeah, he's a phenomenal guy and really humble and just cool. And
there was another one that was very hyped up. They were talking about the Scottish Messi when he broke through at Dundee United, and he signed for West Brom, I want to say. And then
he go to Benfica.
Yeah, he went to Sporting Lisbon.
Lisbon.
Yeah.
And then he played with a lower league team there as well. And I thought that was so it's funny. He's sort of one of these guys that paved the path, of that group of players. He was the first one to go to abroad to a team like Sporting Lisbon, when he was still being looked at by Celtic and Rangers and English teams and stuff.
Yeah, I remember when he broke through at Dundee United, he was another name that was doing the rounds, but he obviously went off. And again, it could be just ambition, and getting to play in a higher standard, because we have to be honest with Scottish football. At times it is what it is. If they do get these options, they look at what's happened tonight, or the season that Napoli have had with Scott McTominay doing what he does, and Billy Gilmore playing in that team, and you've seen guys like Henderson going out there, Hickey, Lewis Ferguson. These then they say Lennon Miller could be the next one to go abroad, and they might get him a game for Scotland ahead of Kenny McLean if Stevie Clark's paying attention. But anyway, but before we get on to the sort of wrap up of the show and talk about because we had to be segued there. It was connected to Celtic. Obviously, Lennon Miller's a name that's going to keep getting linked with Celtic until he doesn't sign for us. So we're going to always keep bringing him up when he does, when his name is out there in the news. But yeah, before we wrap up and do our predictions, a little quick mention, because this has to be brought up, I guess, because it was first of all, I'm actually going to bring this up because I saw this happening in the chat earlier on. I don't quite know what's going on in the chat today, but 420 somewhere has said, poor Liam and Phil, we are sorry, we basically not contributed or taking part in this podcast whatsoever, but we're all happy and buzzing for this treble, because everyone's just mentioning random TV shows. I keep seeing the calling them everyone's talking about random TV shows from yesteryear. I don't know how it started. I don't know what the context is. But yeah, I keep seeing people just putting comments up with all different memories of TV shows. I don't know how it came about to this, but don't worry, 420 somewhere. It's fine. It's okay. It's not a problem if he's not paying attention to us to just waffling away. We're just talking the usual Friday feeling nonsense. Don't worry about it. One thing I was wanting to bring up before we do is next season, if Celtic do qualify for the Champions League, because we obviously don't have to get for the qualifier, do you believe in fate, Liam? Are you a fate believer, or do you just do you have a
I believe in magic, I believe in the fairies, I believe in wizards, dragons, a lot, mate. Joe Rogan.
Mm. Do you think when the draw comes out for the Champions League of Celtic, do you think they'll be paired up with Tottenham Hotspur and Ange Postecoglou will have a... Because, man, like, fair play. I've not changed my opinion on Ange since day one, since he left. Did well for us. I am not bitter and angry about it. I would say I was the same with Brendan Rodgers when he left. I was like, it is what it is. It's football. It's business. It is what it is. Some of the stuff that I've seen on Twitter this week has been quite absurd. I've seen people genuinely tweeting things like, I'm in tears of joy for Ange. And it's like, Ange Postecoglou's not a Celtic manager anymore. We're going for a treble this weekend. I love Ange. I'm really happy for him. Good on him. I'm not a big fan of Tottenham Hotspur, to be honest. But hey, and I'm not a big fan of the way he's been treated. But some of the stuff that I've seen on Twitter has been wild. And I'm like, you do know that we, Celtic, are going for a treble this weekend. We are, Brendan Rodgers is our manager, not Ange. And I am petrified of the idea of us getting paired up with Tottenham next season, because it's either loving that I think some fans will have. I'm not, don't get me wrong, it's not the majority of fans, but there was a contingent I've seen on Twitter who genuinely were tweeting things like, sack Brendan and get Ange back tomorrow. Ange won't come back. Ange is not coming back, unfortunately. But one, fair play to him winning the Cup. Good on him winning the Europa League. But yeah, could you imagine it next season, Liam, if we pull Tottenham out that draw?
Never underestimate Celtic and the ability to spin a wild, magical narrative. We talked about this last week. We talked about James Forrest scoring the winning goal, and how, if you look at Celtic as a story, that's the sort of stories that belong in our club. For some reason, there's a magic that goes around this club where these stories just seem to happen and replicate. We talked about the number 5 in the shorts scoring in the 67th minute, when Billy, after Billy McNeil died. Yeah, these sort of things happening. I think we got such a wide fan base of wizards, magicians, and for East End of Glasgow and beyond, that somehow, like, when it looks at a big story, the best one is the one that usually appears. And I think us taking on Tottenham next year, I think that loving will disappear after the first press conference. First one of their players to come out.
I hope so, because what is instantly coming to my mind is, what is something that we have talked about since you and I debuted on this channel in 2022, a constant narrative that we always bring up about European nights, particularly at Celtic Park, is we want to get away for the tourist element stuff. We want to get away from the birthday-cared pish. We want Celtic Park to be a fortress. And in the last year and a bit, I think Celtic Park's began to get a wee bit more of an aura about it on European nights. So teams are now having to work for it when they're coming to Celtic Park, So we're starting to get a wee bit more of that atmosphere. And I just worry that, what happened the other night with the way, even the Celtic Twitter account put a tweet out congratulating him, which, okay, he's a former manager, but the replies in it, oh my God, the replies, Liam. I was reading them and I was like, he's not the Celtic manager anymore. He's not. It's like, I do like what Ange did. I'm really happy from that sense, but my God, you'd be hard pressed to remember that Brendan Rodgers is a Celtic manager and we're going for a treble. People were going crazy for it. And I'm like, God, if we draw Tottenham and if we were to lose to them, there probably would be fans that would genuinely go, okay, it's all right though, it's Big Ange. It's like, no, that's not what we want at all. We need to, I just worry about the tourist element returning for if we draw that fixture. So hopefully, to God, we don't have that as a scenario. But first and foremost, we need to qualify for the Champions League anyway, because there's going to be 6 English teams in the Champions League next season who don't need to qualify, and we do. But yeah, we need to get there first, mate.
Yeah, I just hope we don't get Arsenal in this story. I hate Arteta.
Yeah, Arteta's quite an unlikable guy, isn't he, man?
Oh, could just everything about him just exudes. He's just, I don't know, like that light bulb thing and all that. It's like, oh my God, mid-management theatrics, to motivate a football team, and you're filming it. My God, it was like, I would have got rejected as an episode of Ted Lasso. It's like, no, he's not that much of an idiot. But yeah, I mean, there's a football one for you for the TV.
Yeah.
Don't know what's up.
Exactly. Joe Henry saying Phil GPT. The chat has escaped from the lab and running down the street. as I say, I don't know the context. I don't know why everybody's just talking about random TV shows. I mean, I could probably do a podcast talking about random TV show memories for hours, to be honest, if I was getting on that subject. I won't do that. But at the end of the day, hey, it's interactions. As I keep saying at the start, when I do all that good stuff, I talk about an interactive channel. Hey, if there's interactions and there's chat, it pushes the channel a bit more YouTube-like an interactive channel. So, hey, if you're talking about anything, then so be it. That's good. That's good for the channel. But yeah, before we go, we'll quickly do the mystery player. I think it was quite an obvious one. We'll get them back in. We'll reel them back in, Liam. We're getting the mystery player back up. So who's tonight mystery player was played for Auxerre, Stade Rennes, Celtic, and Toulouse. And of course, the picture that I picked is very deliberate because he's got the Scottish Cup in his hands. Liam, who is tonight's hidden player behind the Bhoycie Bus logo?
Is that Big Julian?
No, it's not Christopher Julian. I know what's throwing you off there because of Toulouse, isn't it? That's what's throwing you off. It's not, mate. It is a goal hero from probably the most obscure goal hero in Celtic history. 2007, he was on loan, a right back from, I believe, Stade Rennes. He was on loan to us, and he didn't have much of a Celtic career, but this one moment lives forever. Let's see if somebody in the chat has got it. Yeah, Patrick McLaughlin there is. John Joe Perrier Doumbé. Yes, with his goal against Dunfermline in the 2007 Scottish Cup final. A dreadful, dreadful final from what I remember. But hey, see if tomorrow is a dreadful final, but we score a scrappy goal with a few minutes to go to win it, then I will not give a shit. I will be delighted if that's the case. But yeah, he was etched into Celtic folklore forever with his goal with about 5 minutes to go against Dunfermline in the 2007 Scottish Cup final that won as a double. But yeah, he was probably the most obscure Celtic goal hero I think we've ever had, to be honest. But yeah, John Joe Perrier Doumbé. So he signed for his full time at the end of that season because he was only on loan. And I remember he got injured against AC Milan the next season in the Champions League he was playing. And I don't think he played for us again because he got like a knee injury, like an ACL injury or something like that. It was against the game when Scott McDonald scored the winner. I remember Ndida get slapped. Remember that game? That was a game he got injured. I remember him going off that night. And yeah, he never played for Celtic again. I think after that, I think that was it. His career was done with his injury. But yeah, he was forever in Celtic folklore for a winning goal in the Scottish Cup final, the most unlikeliest of heroes. Who will be the hero tomorrow, though, Liam? How will it go? Come on, wise man. I know you've been a bit down in the dumps, a bit worried about it, but come on, let's have a positive one. Come on, is Greg Taylor going to do it?
I'm willing for a 3-0 Celtic game tomorrow. I want to see big players having big games, you know. I think you start with our best squad. I want to see Dyson Maeda. Congratulations, Dyson. He's just had a wee boy. I said our David Logue as well.
Indeed, David Logue. Dominic David Logue was born on Wednesday, I believe.
And his family's still in Japan, Dyson. So I want to see him have a big game tomorrow. Play him at centre forward, build the team, feed Dyson, get the goals. And again, if we score one or two early, that's it done. But the longer it goes and the longer it nips, yeah, I get a wee bit nervous because trebles are hard to win.
A wee early goal for Celtic would they go amiss? You know, you get an early goal and it's kind of settles you down because that would be ideal. As I've said earlier on, the comment that came up, when was the last time we tend to not do teams in the final? It's always a bit of a cagey affair. So the last one was 3-0 against Aberdeen in 2016. So it's like, we need to, it'd be great to have a day where we get like 2-0 up inside like 20 minutes or something, and then it kind of just calms down and the rest of the game's a bit of a party pretty much. You just know that you're going to go on and win it. You don't want it to go to the last minute. As much as and Jesus Christ, it's one of the best moments Kenny's ever had was obviously Tom Rogic's goal. As good as that is, sometimes you just don't need the drama. You just don't need it. I know there's a fairy tale about Celtic. We're literally talking about that. It does make for great moments in years to come, the pictures from it and whatnot. But sometimes I just want to just turn up and just see us absolutely steamroller a team, and then it's like easy pickings all the way. But with Celtic being Celtic, you know that there's going to be a bit of drama somewhere. So I think Celtic will win. I think Aberdeen will dig in and make it a bit of a tough one. I think Celtic will win it 3-1. I'm going to say it'll be 2-1 for a while, and Celtic will get a late goal to put it beyond doubt. But it'll be a bit of a cagey one up till that point. So I'd love it to just be run out there and just destroy them. That'd be great. But I do think there will be a bit of tension there. But I think ultimately we will get it done. And when the history books are written, when people look back in years come, nobody will give a shit how Celtic did it. They will just look at Celtic won it. So yeah, I think 3-1 to Celtic, and we wrap up on 9th treble, I believe it is now, 9th, I believe. So yeah, losing track, all these trebles, mate. What can you do with them, eh? What can you do?
So do you think we'll see Greg Taylor get a contract in the shower tomorrow? Wouldn't be surprised.
Jesus, mate.
That would be the best story.
Oh, man. Well, obviously, David Scully's had a tail overhead kick just to annoy Liam. I don't know how to annoy Liam to be. I think Liam would be delighted for that, to be honest. But that would definitely result in a new contract being offered in the showers if that happens, to be fair. To be fair, I would probably go down and offer him the contract myself if that happened. I would definitely do that. But yeah, the 427, yes, the Greg Taylor klaxon there is. We didn't use it all last week, but it's here now. But yeah, we are done for the night. It's the last domestic game of the season. There will still be content on Friday nights. I do aim to still do stuff. Say Friday feeling, the whole idea of the show is to look forward to the game at the weekend. But after this, there is no games at the weekend. But I might have some stuff up my sleeve. There might be some stuff coming down the pipeline in the bus to keep your eyes on as well. That, you know, I won't let in too much, but me and Russell are talking about some things that could be some big changes for the bus coming, and exciting changes at that. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified when that comes online as well. But yeah, we're going to head off now. Enjoy the game tomorrow, folks. Enjoy it if you're going to Hampden as well, if you're lucky enough to get a ticket. I'll be there in block F6. Looking forward to that. With the fancy new scan your ticket with your phone system that they've done, although they did it for the St Johnstone game and it actually works okay. But you know, a technophobe like me at times, I'm just like, oh no, change is not good. No, we can't handle all this change. But that's the way things are going now in football. There's even talk that next season the season tickets at Celtic Park might be on your phone now with an app. So Celtic stepping into the future. We will wait and see on that one. But yeah, enjoy the game, whether you watch it on TV, whether you go to the game, or you're like Liam and you're getting up at the crack of dawn to go and watch it in your local Celtic supporters club in whatever corner of the world you're in. And yeah, hopefully we will be celebrating a treble. I am assured as well, before I go, Russell has said this. He's told me and he's told Terry. Terry's seen it in the group chat. Liam has seen it in the group chat. Russell says he's definitely doing PMP tomorrow with Terry. So yes, come on, Russell, please. Just please do that. Because I don't have to rush back for Hampden to get on for PMP. But yes, I do believe Russell and Terry will be doing PMP tomorrow, and that will go on sometime after the game. Look out for that as well. But yeah, folks, we're heading off now. Say thanks for joining us tonight. Hit the like button on the way out. And yeah, we shall see you on the next show. Catch you later, guys.